Welcome back to our DNA. We have a big celebration, episode 10. We made it. So,
Amen. Let's go.
first 10 down,
Oh,
thousands.
yeah.
Um, I'm Brandon Duplessis. As always, we have Philip Price and David Medina. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Better.
Better. Yes.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
the first of the year, our first podcast of the year, right? We've been on a little break, and I know we have some big news. I know, Philip, you've gone back to work. You're back
I'm
in the
back to work. Yeah.
How's that going? Tell us about that.
I'm really enjoying it, to be honest with you. I didn't realize how much I missed it until I got back to work. You know,
Yeah.
my energy's better, my attitude is better, everything's better. So,
What led
celebrations
you?
again. Yeah.
What led you to go back?
Well, a friend came over. His name is Paul, and he was debating whether he was going to close his business or keep it going. He had been in business 10 years. So he asked my daughter and I to come over and evaluate his business. And then once we got there, we saw that it just didn't have management, you know. And so he had a couple of people that were there already, but once we came in, they all left. We've been there now about 3 weeks. He was averaging 17 cars a month. And right now, as we speak, we're about 29 cars for the month.
Already.
And a lot of his cars were old cars that he had sitting there for a long time. And he's in a very, very strong financial position, but he just, like he's really just blown away because we'll probably finish this first month doing about 34 for him. And then next month we'll do probably 40. And then the month after that, we'll probably do 60. I asked him to bet me that by March we do 60, and he wouldn't take the bet. He said, "You guys, the day you walked in here, you selling cars."
It's looking too
Plus,
good
we know a
already.
lot of people in Vegas too, so that helps. You know what I mean? Yeah, we know a lot of people.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then, David, I'm glad to hear that you're feeling better.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a scare, that's for sure. I have, according to the doctors, it's I might butcher the name as I always do. It's called pericarditis, I think. Essentially, what that means is my heart is inflamed, probably from some kind of virus or too much strain on the heart, and basically I can feel when the heart pumps sometimes, and when I breathe, because it's touching my lungs. And
Wow.
it's been extremely painful the last week. Right now, I'd say like 90% better. I still get random pains or discomfort, and my energy's been low because it's been hard to sleep. But at least I'm alive and I'm okay.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, what was the determining factor that brought you into the
The
hospital?
ER.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was in so much pain. I couldn't even like. I thought something was wrong with my breathing. I actually had gone to San Francisco for the weekend to visit a friend, and I came back. I kind of noticed that something was off during like a hike that I went on with her,
Mhm.
and I didn't think anything of it. I thought maybe I was just catching something like a cold or something, and it got worse to where I was feeling a lot of pain when I came back, and at that point I was like, I need to go to the ER. So I went straight to the ER as soon as I got home, and I was pretty much there for 4 days, and
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty harsh.
Well, thank God you went.
Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, glad you responded to it. Because sometimes people don't respond, and it sneaks up on them. It
Yeah.
gets worse. Yeah.
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 So I'm on a
You
lot
know,
of medication now.
damn.
Hmm.
Is there as far as taking medications, do they give you
Hmm.
like options, like take this medicine, or is it like the rest of your life kind of take the medicine, or is it just for like?
So for most of them, it's only I forgot exactly because there's like 6 or 7 different ones I'm taking right now,
Mhm.
um,
Wow.
and most of them are like a month or like 2 weeks, and
Okay,
then some of them are as long as 3 months. Luckily, not for my whole life.
good.
But it's already on top of the colitis that I have for the rest of my life. So it's like I'm taking like 15 pills right now a day, or like 20
Wow, are
altogether
you
if you think about it.
serious?
Yeah, it's a
Wow,
lot.
it's a
That's a lot.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I take two.
Hmm.
Well, I take aspirin and I take blood pressure medicine and stuff for my stomach. But for my age, that's because I see some of my buddies that are my age and they got the whole pill box with the day and
Yep.
Right.
so I'm very thankful that I'm still feeling pretty awesome compared to
It's good.
what it could be at my age, So, but
Hmm.
yeah, so it's but you got to just be cognizant of it, right? Is there exercise or anything that once you get off the
So,
pills they recommend, or what did they tell you?
right now I'm only supposed to be doing very mild exercising, as in like walking. Um, Pretty much for the next 3 months, I'm not able to do much exercise, which kind of takes a toll on my mental health as well. Because I mean, I'm sure Brandon knows I go to the gym a lot, and that's always been a focus of my life. Is an hour a day or working out. I enjoy it, and it's going to be hard for the next 3 months because that's a big part of my
Yeah.
life that's being taken away. But as long as I keep it um, kind of small workouts for now, and the few like in the next 2 3 weeks, I think I could start doing like bands. So
Okay.
like stretch bands and workout bands. I just can't go
Right.
too extraneous on it, or else I can risk getting in worse condition.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Maybe like some yoga, some light stuff.
that's what
You
coworkers were telling me. Some yoga.
Yeah. There's plenty of light stuff you can do to
Hmm.
get that same feeling that you get from the endorphins and all that from the full
Hmm.
workout. Even just taking a walk outside, you know, and getting out.
Just
It's
True.
you don't want to go too far because you don't want to put the stress on your heart right now until they get it
Exactly.
under control. Until the doctor give you the green light,
right until you
follow the
get
rules that he gave you because there's a reason they told you that. That's yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, science
Yeah.
is pretty awesome, man.
yeah, we try to fight through it sometimes. I'm definitely a fight through it kind of person. I
Hmm.
think I gotta start listening to my body more or even go to the doctors more, you know.
That's
Hmm.
been my downfall. I don't go unless I'm feeling bad. Whereas a lot of people, you know, they go just to have a checkup. You need to do
Hmm.
that just to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be and your levels are all fine. But
Yeah.
I,
Well, I'm curious for you because obviously you're healthier than the average 70. How old are you now? 72,
72, man.
right? 72.
Yeah.
Um, my mother-in-law is 72, I think, as well, or
Hmm.
71. And she doesn't really go to the doctors either. She's kind of more holistic and just keeps moving and keeps, she can't sit still. Even when we're at the house, she's like just doing something, just keeping her body going. But
Well, the first few days I went back to work, man, it was tough. I mean, it really was because I wasn't used to moving all as much as I was because when you're selling cars, you're outside, you're inside, you're moving around.
right,
And by the fourth or fifth day, man, I was feeling so much better. I mean, the energy level and everything, I just really appreciated, and it got it got me feeling better because I've never been a person that has stayed home. I've always been on the move, and to be back moving, I can't tell you how wonderful it feels, and I'm excited to keep going and see where we can take this thing to.
and you enjoy doing it too.
I love what I do, and I didn't realize how much I missed it until I got back doing it. Because you're interacting with people, you're talking, you're laughing. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah,
It's you're sitting here watching the television. We were working from the house and we were selling cars, but it's not the same energy. You know what I mean?
right.
Yeah. So it's way better now.
That's
So,
good. How long were you retired for, or not
well,
doing?
I was home when we got back from Texas. I stayed at the house for a year. We didn't work. We just worked from the house. Selling friends' cars, but through dealerships. Whereas now we have a full blown dealership. We got the lines of credit. We got the to where we can buy. Like we sold a Lamborghini for my son yesterday to a guy that owns some restaurants in Nevada. He bought a Lamborghini Urus 2021, and so that's we got the wherewithal that we can do the deals. Um, so it's a great situation, and he's willing to give up ownership to us. He was give my daughter 25% and give myself 25% of it because he was ready to close it down, and we went there and immediately said, "No, you don't need to do that. Let's just sell some cars because the car business you got to sell cars."
Right.
And he wasn't doing that, but he didn't have the talent there, And it's amazing when you get talent and you get energy right. And we've hired 3 salesmen, and my daughter works all the financing, and then I do all the closing of the deals and paperwork and that kind of stuff. So it's working out good, man. I'm really happy for it. I'm excited because we think we can really do. I mean, it's on a busy street. It's on South Decatur, so I think they say per day there are like 30,000 or 40,000 cars, some ridiculous number. I mean, it's always traffic going that way.
Going by.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he had a lot of inexpensive cars, so I'm gradually moving him to where I wanted to go is more expensive cars. Um, uh, we're gonna still have some inexpensive cars, but we want some nice stuff that people can get excited about. You know. So it's fun. I'm really having a good time with it. Really am.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
What have you seen changed over the years in your industry, or is it still pretty much the same?
It has changed because everything is dependent on the websites, and it's everything. Back in the day, as they say, people would get a newspaper and they would leave their house and go shopping. Whereas now they call you first. They'll even get pre-qualified before they get there. And then if there's some negotiation for the numbers, we do that when they get there. But they find exactly what they're looking for. They find a dealership that has it, and they lock it down. They don't go. See, back in the day, people would go from this dealership to that dealership to that dealership. And now you got to put a good price out there. So it's a little bit more competitive. Yeah. But like I sold a Cadillac today to a guy in Ohio.
Interesting.
It's a kind of a specialty car. It's a Cadillac LRX, I think it's called. It's a little 2-door hardtop convertible. And he wanted it. He went to his bank and sent us the money. And now tomorrow I got to get a shipper to ship it to him. He's in Columbus, Ohio. I mean, it's so different now because with the internet, you can be. My grandson sells clothes in London.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
they can see your stuff on the web, and if they like it, oh, can you send it to me in Heathrow, or can you send it to me in London or wherever? It's just crazy how you have so much more reach. I mean, think about that. I couldn't have sold this guy back in the day that car.
True.
In Ohio. He saw it. He was looking on the web for a certain car. We happen to have it. Boom. Okay. What's the price? Gave him the price. Okay, I'm going to go to my credit union. Because I had another guy that was coming to buy it tomorrow. And he says, no, I'm buying it today. I'll go to my bank. I'll get the money to you. He wired it right over, And,
Wow.
I want the car, so put it on a transporter. In the next couple of days, I'll find a transporter's going back to Ohio, and the car deal's done. It's so much more reach now. That amazes me. I mean, you sold in your area. Do you understand? Because you only had newspaper and TV.
Right.
Now you got the internet. That if we have a specialty car and the guy likes it in Kansas City, Missouri, he'll call you about
It's
sick.
a different time. That's
Yeah.
it's obviously we're in an era where the internet's pretty normal. Like, you know, David, I'm guessing you were born when?
98.
98, right?
Mhm.
So
it. Yeah.
the
And
internet was
I was
pretty,
born in '52, so it's a little bit of a difference.
yeah,
I mean,
I'm
you didn't have this. I mean, to do what my grandson is doing with his business, there's no way I could have done that back in the day. No way. To have the reach that he has. He's, yeah, Candace is his manager, and so some guy called her DM'd her on Instagram and says, I would like Caprice to do a photo shoot in London.
Hmm.
There, he's in London, and he says
awesome.
he'll pay to have him come out there and do it, and yada yada. I mean, it just for my generation, that's just so different. It's just how big you can reach. Like it's just crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was born 83, and when the internet was even an idea, it was dial up, right? So it wasn't even like, and you were made like even loading up a web page or even understanding what the internet was. I remember a buddy of mine was part of this multi-level marketing kind of scenario, and it was called B2B was the website, b2b.com, and
Mhm.
they sold everything you can think of online, bikes, cars, clothes, anything and everything, just like Amazon.
Right. And
But
then
at the time, you go ahead.
no, it's right. I mean, everything is online now.
Everything. But at the time, it just sounded weird. Like I
Mhm.
remember going to other people, and this is maybe the year, maybe say 2002, give or take,
Mhm.
and just explaining it to people and saying like, hey, whatever you need, you could look it up and find it at a good price and this and that. And it didn't compute the same way that now, last Christmas, I think everything I got was off Amazon kind of thing.
Well, it's so different now. I mean, the things that we enjoyed in my generation, you guys don't do. We used to go shopping for Christmas gifts, and it was, my wife and I would go and we'd have lunch and we'd have dinner. We'd break up the shopping, and it was an experience.
Yeah.
And now, my daughter, she'll order everything for the kids and whatever she wants from the house. The Amazon truck just pulls up and puts it in the front door. And like groceries, she'll be sitting there and I said, what are you doing? And she says, well, I'm ordering groceries. Hey, you don't want to go to the store and get it? No, Dad, I don't like going to the store. She
Gro-
orders the groceries online.
Groceries are nice though. That's a nice.
It's a
I
nice
take
plus.
I take advantage of that too. I don't mind paying someone an extra little tip to go to the store, bring it to my house. We definitely take advantage of that.
But it's what scares me about the future with AI. What are people going to do? That's what scares me as an old timer. What are people going to do if AI is going to build it better? Is what they're saying. Cars, everything. Well, how do you pay people?
What are we gonna do?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, there's everything is automated now.
I would like to think that if the AI could run the world, that our lives are easier and better. Meaning, money is not as much of an issue.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but
we can live our lives free, but I don't think that's a reality of the way the world
Well,
works.
Elon Musk said, he brought up the question, how do we pay people in the future if the AI is doing all the work?
I'm a younger generation, but how I see it is everybody freaked out about phones and how that was going to take away jobs and the computers, and now everybody uses it for their jobs. I literally just sit at my desk and I make $10,000, $40,000 deals from a phone and the internet. I don't
Right.
actually
True.
talk to
Well,
anybody in person and anything like that.
Point.
So I don't know.
and I mean, I've gotten used to it. Like I said, we did a whole deal. The guy and I are talking and in Ohio, and we're making the deal. He runs to the bank, gets the check, sends it to you, and I'm just sitting there thinking, "Dang, that's pretty unique," you know. Like,
Well,
Yeah.
I deal with like money, of course, and people are concerned about cryptocurrency kind of taking over or the dollar going digital, for example. And I understand the concern, but I also reference like 100 years ago, people used to use gold as money. And
yes,
Yep.
right.
if you would have told people 100 years ago that we were going to be paying for stuff with a little piece of plastic called a credit card, that wouldn't even have computed.
Well, my
Right?
generation, you wrote a check. They
Yeah.
make it too convenient now. See, when you had to write that check, you had a moment to think about it because you had to sit there and physically write it out. And now it's boop, you
Yeah.
tap it and boop.
Too easy.
Hmm.
It's too convenient, man. That's the thing I reference because when you were sitting there and you and your wife were ready to buy something and you go, okay, what do you think, dear? And she said, okay, yeah, I think it's a good idea. And then you getting ready to get the pen out to write that check. You thinking about it for a second because you really did because now I got to write this thing out.
Right.
Whereas now, I mean, like the guy that bought the Lambo truck, he put 30K down on it and he just tapped the card and
Boom.
That was it.
boom,
Wow.
transferred from his bank to our bank. And I mean, it's just so easy to do business now. You got to understand, I started in the business before they had computers. You want to talk about a rough day in the 70s? You sell 5 cars in a day and you had to hand write the contract. Oh man, I mean, you were making money, but the whole time because you had to hand write it.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
We
Whereas
had
now you just put it in the computer and beep, beep, beep,
we
paperwork.
did have carbon. I enjoyed those times. We used to have carbon paper copies for when we would write a
Right.
trade, right? So you have those three different for the younger generation, look it up. But it was kind of fun because if you got a trade, you'd hold up your ticket, someone come by and get it. Now it's so that part of it was fun, but I couldn't imagine having to write up the contract for selling a car.
Oh, I mean, like, today we sold 3 cars. I mean, you can do it so easy, so fast, so quick compared to think about it. The fax machine didn't come. So you had to have a courier employed by you to run the contracts to the banks.
Interesting.
Think about that. I mean, that wasn't but 35, 40 years ago. We'd have a fax machine. I mean, you had to send a letter or you had to send it by mail and then when the guy finally came up where you could get it shipped to like FedEx, you remember the guy that introduced FedEx? Now you could get it shipped you had to put it in regular mail then back in the day. And a deal, like if I had to send you a contract back in the day, it might take 3, 4 days before you get the contract.
Wow.
Now it's like we did the whole deal on the Lambo truck. We emailed him the docs. He signs it online. It's a DocuSign. He
Yeah.
sends it back email. We send it to the bank email.
Easy.
Easy.
I,
I
I
mean,
leased a car.
it moves so fast now.
I leased a car in like 2019, I think it was.
Mhm.
And I remember like I signed everything. Like they had one of those tabletops that was like a computer. So it was
Yes,
like I'm pushing it on the tabletop. I
right.
didn't have to do nothing. That was it. It was like
That
everything.
well, and that's what it is now in most of these franchise dealerships. It's a computer on on the desk,
Right on the desk.
and you sign, plug, boop, 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 boom. It's sent straight to whoever the bank is, and
Wow.
you
My
done.
first car, I remember I had to like I was so nervous the first time I bought a car. I just remember it. I went to I was I was dropped off at this one location. It was a wasn't Nissan. What was it? A Kia. I think it was a Kia or something like that.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
essentially, they didn't approve me to buy a car, and I was like, "Oh crap!" And I was like, kind of going over there to buy it and walk out. So then I was like starting to walk the street, like walk of shame. I was like, "Damn."
Mhm.
I was like, you know what? And I think it was my grandfather that told me, like, you know, if one place doesn't, go to another kind of thing. And I was like, you know what? I kept walking, and it was in Van Nuys, so it was that whole row of
Yeah,
just yeah,
auto.
auto dealerships. Yeah, and I got to
Uh,
I think Chevy it was, and I went there, and I just remember I had to have my paychecks. I had to have I had to have a whole packet of stuff to show them to be approved for the car. And I
wow.
remember I got in there, I showed them everything, that they approved me. And I was like, damn. And I was already defeated. I thought I wasn't going to get it, because the previous place told me I couldn't. So when one person can't, somebody else will. Like somebody's going to get the deal.
If you keep looking, you will find somebody that you know. And nowadays, man, they got specialty banks for bad credit. They got banks for if you're a migrant and you don't have a social security. I mean, everything there's banks for every kind of different things, but they charge you for it.
Yeah.
That's the difference now. That you got to pay a premium. The dealership does to do business with them. So it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to buy stuff now. It really is.
True.
Yeah,
All across the board.
That's what
right.
capitalism wants. They want it to be
That's,
easier so people spend more.
and that's why they came up with these. You just beat the card, man. I mean, you don't even have to put it in and put a pin and all that stuff. You just bloop,
That's it.
there it goes. Money gone from your hand to their hand. Yeah,
Different times.
different times.
Hmm.
So, can you imagine what it's going to be like 30 years from now, though?
Robots are going to
Mm.
be doing it for us.
Yeah, you probably just order your car online and have it dropped off, which it pretty much already does now.
Yeah, he did it. My brother-in-law, before he passed about a year and a half ago, he loved BMWs, and he would be in his office doing business, and he'd order what he wanted online, and they delivered to his office, and he never left his business to get his cars.
Hmm.
Never.
It's like that.
Yeah, he
I
just.
even I even
Mhm.
sold my car online. Like I
Oh
didn't
yeah.
even. The guy came out. It was like Car Hub. I'll figure out. But guy just came out, looked at the car, wrote me a check on the spot. I didn't even have to leave my house.
Wow.
It was great.
It's so convenient now, ain't it?
Yeah, very.
Very convenient.
What was I? Because you mentioned the '70s, so I had I thought to kind of switch things up just a little bit.
Hmm.
What your thoughts are, but you know, obviously there's wars going on around the world, right?
Right.
Hmm.
And a lot of people have been talking to me on the phones and just bringing that up to me lately. And I'm like, man, and a few people have referenced the '70s. We had a big war then, and I guess especially because you lived through it, Philip, and you've kind of seen the different
Right.
generations, the
Hmm.
different wars. If you yourself kind of feel anything similar in the environment, or if you can,
I'm more fearful. I've never been afraid in America, even in the '60s when prejudice was running rampant, and you see all the things that I saw. I was never like petrified, but I'm scared now because we're making enemies with everybody.
Yeah.
And everybody's on alert against America right now. That's what scares me. And I was saying, I said today, I pray that, in my lifetime and my kids' lifetime, we don't see war. Because, I lost 7 cousins in the Vietnam War in the 70s,
Wow.
60s and 70s. I don't want to go down that road. I mean, when you see it in Gaza and all these other places, I mean, the destruction and all that, I don't want to see that. I hope we stay safe, and I hope the rest of the world is safe, and we don't have to go down that road. But it's
Yeah,
it's going to be an interesting 4 years, is in my opinion.
I agree. And I
I,
have young boys. I have I know you have your grandchildren, and I have my son's 18. My other
well, my
son's,
grandson is 18. I don't want him to be drafted. And,
oh,
that's what happened back in the day. They drafted these kids. I mean,
right.
I was a year and a half too young. But no, I was 2 years too young. 2 years, I think. So if you had to be unlucky, between friends and family that I lost in the Vietnam War, I think it comes to about 12 people, 13 people that I know personally that died in that war.
That's more than most people lose in a lifetime, anyways, that are
Yeah.
close to them.
Right. And it
Right.
was, and to see, I had a friend named Harold, great guy, went to Vietnam. And then the ones that did come back, because they saw so many ugly things that they were messed up.
Not the same.
Yeah, they lost this. And a lot of them had mental issues and from Agent Orange and all the chemicals that were spraying to try to get the war over. So I'm praying that cooler heads prevail. I
Yeah.
don't want to see us, but I'm fearful. I got to tell you that, because you can't make threats and say you're going to take this and take that. This is a different time. Everybody's got nuclear stuff. So it ain't gonna be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And and it can change in a heartbeat. Anything could happen at any point. So, and it's
I'm praying for
devastating.
the best. I'm praying for the best outcome. I'm gonna stay optimistic and hopeful, and because I don't want to see young people going to war. I really don't.
Yeah. Not at all. Yeah. That's too much.
But,
And
but you've had people say that to you.
yeah, people have been just bringing it up a lot in my line of work. And it's, I try to stay cool and keep my faith, and I'm a man of faith, and I live in faith and not fear. Um, but I also like to be prepared and be aware and, not ignore the things that are in front of me. But it's hard to ignore it, one, when it's happening, but two, when everyone else is concerned and scared of it too and fearful of it,
Yeah.
and it's brought up to me quite a bit.
Are people scared to make investments now because they're not knowing where things are going?
In my line of business, I would say because of war and like negative things happening to the economy, people want to do business. But because Trump got into office, it definitely has changed some things where people, like I talked to a woman this afternoon, a couple, and we were talking about the world moving away from the dollar as the world reserve currency,
Mhm.
because lots of countries want to do that. And there's a lot of things happening that are potentially going to change that. And she was confident that that's not going to happen. She's like, nope, we're too respected as a country. We have Trump in office now. He won't let that happen. And it was one of those scenarios where I knew better not to disagree with her, because
Right,
like she
right.
was, she was
You,
very
you you played it right. Yeah.
100%, 100%. Even got to the point at one point later in the conversation, she's like, well, I know what I'm thinking, but what do you recommend, Brandon? I was like, you know what? I recommend whatever you're thinking, because I know better. I know better than to jump in with my thoughts. You obviously have something that you want to do, so let's keep it to that. And But yeah, so I think in my industry, things have definitely slowed down a little bit just because people feel a little bit, um, I guess, safer and think that Trump hopefully will guide us through this next few years better. But unfortunately, there's only so much he can do too, right? When it comes to the economy or the dollar or recession or something of that nature. So I'm pretty sure my business will pick up soon, but it definitely slowed down.
Yeah, and I mean, even the new car franchises, they're forecasting that it might get a little slower for them because parts and we're a global economy now. It's not just all coming from the U.S. Back in the 70s, a lot of the stuff that we sold were made here. International Harvester, the tractors were made here. Chevy and Ford and all of them, their cars were all made here. The parts are coming from all over the world now because they find who's the best supplier.
Right.
And if he's in Paris or France, that's who they use.
Yeah.
If he can keep up with it. You remember when the COVID hit?
I was just about to bring it up.
You were getting ready to bring that up, remember? And
Yeah.
what was it that we get from Taiwan or somewhere that they start putting them in? It's whatever we use for the cars and for computers.
Yeah, the computer
And they
chip.
started putting them in computers and not for the cars. And there was certain cars that was shortage because it was missing whatever this part is.
A chip. Certain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I
chip. It
remember.
was a chip.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
was
The
a
was a
chip.
microchip.
chip. Yeah. And
And
remember,
they
you remember
couldn't get
when there
them.
was certain cars sitting because they couldn't get that chip?
Yep.
Right.
So when I got my 2019, in 2021, I bought a used 2019 car, right? And the guy was telling me this car has more bells and whistles on it because the last two generations couldn't get the extra parts or the extra chips, so it doesn't have certain things that my 2019 had. I remember, it just period. People were lacking in quality of things were changing because they couldn't access foreign
Yeah.
distributors, other
Right.
types of
Remember?
parts.
Because everything was on a lockdown. And manufacturer, because the car business had slowed up, they started because there was a big demand for computers because everybody was at home and they'd get a new computer so they could be at home and enjoy it. And I hope I never lived through anything like that pandemic again, man. You should have been in Las Vegas, Nevada when that pandemic hit. This
Ghost.
place was so dead. You could have shot a gun on Las Vegas Boulevard every minute, and I doubt you would have hit anybody.
Wow.
It was, Vegas is so lively and alive, and all of a sudden it became a ghost town. I was like, what? I mean, it was no restaurants were open, no nothing was open. I'm sure you guys went through it too, and you just like, and we're all locked down in our house. I don't never want to experience that again.
Nope.
That drove me crazy.
Yeah, I'm a homebody, so I'm not like I wasn't. For me, it was not that bad in the sense of I don't mind being at home. Just never have
Yeah.
been. I'm pretty good with it, but it definitely was eerie going out of town, trying to get anything at the grocery store. I remember the day the lockdown happened. I didn't know it was happening. I just happened to be going to the store to get groceries before I picked up my kids from school. And I remember all of a sudden I just started noticing people are like running into the grocery store and like
Right. To
I
get
didn't know
stuff.
what was happening. Yeah. And then I think I checked my phone or I was, and I read what was going on. But inside the grocery store, like people were just grabbing stuff, like
Right.
fighting for
And
things.
the carts full of toilet paper and paper
Toilet
towels. And
paper.
you remember?
Uh-huh. I bought some industrial because I remember going looking for toilet paper And the only thing I could find was industrial toilet paper, like the big rolls that they put
Right.
into a stall at the your mall or something or office. So I still in my garage have these 3 big tire rolls of toilet paper just in case one day. I never
I
used
was
it.
supposed to leave. My uh, girlfriend and I were supposed to go back to Italy. We had went to Italy about a year before, and we wanted to go back again. Right? We were supposed to leave 2 days before the lockdown happened. No, 2 days
After.
one after the lockdown happened. We were supposed to go, and I was so thankful that we didn't get. I mean, can you imagine if we'd have got stuck in Sorrento in Italy? I mean, you still got to pay for that hotel that you're staying in if you're there for 3 months.
Yeah,
Somehow
you're
you
still
got to figure
stuck.
out how to pay for that.
You're
I
still
was so
stuck.
thankful, man. And then
Yeah.
you couldn't earn no money, and you couldn't go to work and sell nothing. It was bad. It was
All
bad.
bad. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely don't like the idea of a lockdown in any
I
sense. It
was in
would,
school when that all happened.
You were?
Yeah, I was in college. That was my senior year of college, so I was in the dorm still, and at the time my roommate was like he stole my toilet paper before he left, and I was like I caught him as he was leaving with my toilet paper. I'm like, dude, I just bought that. Like, if you want some, just ask. Like, I can share.
right.
People were freaking out about toilet paper and other things, and I was just like, there's more than enough for us to share. Like,
Even in the college level.
hmm
But did you notice after we came out of the pandemic, everything went up in price?
yep,
That's what blows me away. Everything, food, gas. Remember, they raised everything went up.
yep,
Yeah.
Everything.
I was one thing I definitely noticed was quality of food went down. Like
Way, yes.
I went like I one of the places I went to like right off the bat, I went to a yogurt land, right? And I went to go get like some frozen yogurt and it was not the same. I was like, what? I was like, I know they changed it. Like this is not the same place I went to before the pandemic. It didn't even taste as good. It didn't have a whole different texture to it. And I was like, man, even you, Yogurtland, like I was so disappointed. Like just
Well,
restaurant
everything
food.
changed, man. It was amazing to me to live through that and just see. And you know what I've noticed? And I'm curious if you guys noticed the same thing. People got more isolated and less friendly after they
yep.
came out of the pandemic. Did you notice that, or is that just me?
I see it especially in the younger generation than me.
Right.
I'm one of the younger generations, and right below me is, the kids nowadays. They're terrible. I was working at a high school for a while, and they were so antisocial. It was ridiculous. Like they wouldn't even look me in the eye when they would come in. They
Mm,
would, be rude and like kind of like cross, like they would cut you off really easily and not say like excuse me or sorry.
mm,
And like sometimes I'd be like, I'd have to check them because I'm like, what are you doing? Like it's not that hard to be cordial. And just a lot of these kids, they grew up in, social media and all that. That's what they got, but they didn't get interaction. They didn't get interpersonal communications. So now they're really suffering for it now.
And I
mm.
see that in the younger generation because
Hmm.
people were they were more. I was watching a thing on HBO and they were talking about the city of San Francisco because it's all
Hmm.
tech people.
Mhm.
And the former mayor of San Francisco, and he's a lifelong San Francisco, he said you didn't want to when back in the day you didn't want to go to a coffee shop and get your coffee because you'd end up being in there for 2 hours talking with people because you'd see people and everybody was
Right.
communicating. He says you go in there now and everybody's looking at the computer. They don't even look up at you. And he says it's just a different world. And the
Yeah.
pandemic really even made that more obvious, I thought.
Yep.
Well, it put us more kind of going back to technology, right? Like it put us more kind of dependent on technology and like using it more and just all you could do is sit home and watch TV or play on your phone or, do something with technology most likely. And and then it just promotes using it even more and depending on it even more. So like there's a movie, David, you've probably seen it, Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a great movie.
It's
Highly
a
recommend.
good movie. It's called Ready Player One, right?
Yeah,
Ready
it's really
Player
cool.
One. Yeah,
I think it's
Ready
on
Player
Netflix.
One. And
Hmm.
but essentially it talks, it's like a future idea of like everyone living more of their life on this virtual reality like gaming. And it's done really well. It's a really cool storyline, but it kind of shows you like people don't care even where they're living. They're like living as almost like bums in a sense, like living in broke
Hmm.
down cars or living in, but they have internet access and they have their
Right.
virtual reality. And in virtual reality, you can be whoever you want to be, right? So they spend more money on their inside their game to look cool and be cool than they do for their personal appearance, right? So
Hmm.
it's like, which you know, it's cool to one point, but at the same time, by the end of the movie, part of the thing is I don't want to spoil it, but like they learn that they got to take some time away from that. They can't like live their life on that.
My grandsons, they played video games. They never, ever, 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 did I say enough evers? Go
Ever.
outside.
Yeah.
Ever. There, you can hear them on their computer playing the game and blah blah blah. And a lot of them gained a lot of weight because they all they do is they eat and play this game.
It's
Yep.
true.
Back in the day, you didn't have, there was one kid in the group that was overweight. The rest of us was skinny as a pole because we're playing basketball, we're playing baseball, we're playing football. We
Doing something.
when mom wanted to get your attention in the 50s and the 60s, you gonna stay in today. Oh my God, that was like putting you, it was almost like turning yourself into the jail. I mean, it was
Right.
like, it was the worst. I mean, you didn't want to look at TV. You know, I mean, you'd hear your friends out laughing and joking. Go in these neighborhoods, you don't see kids outside.
Even when I was
Is it?
growing up, we would go play outside. It was like I would walk down to the parks, I'd take my bike out, and and I know it's like
Do
there's
kids even ride a bike anymore? We
I didn't
used to
even
go
realize
on bike trips on our bikes.
I am at fault. I didn't realize until about I don't know. I think it was about we were in the pandemic about 2020, so 4, 5, almost 5 years ago now. That my sons didn't really know how to ride a bike. I had taught them when they were like 5 or 6, training wheels and pushed them around the cul-de-sac. But then from there, they didn't really ride their bikes much. So by the time my son, I think my son Devin was 14, like he was getting into high school, and I had bikes for our neighborhood. It was pandemic. And he's like, Dad, I don't know how to ride a bike. And I was like, oh, I was like, really? So now he rides his bike at college all the time and this and that. So I taught him, 4 years ago. But, it's so much happens and things are so much different that even I don't think of getting outside, with my kids the same
I,
way, you know?
we stayed outside. We just had to be home before it got dark.
That's right. Those street
We
lights.
would leave and get on our bikes, and I lived on 75th Avenue, and my cousins and my friends, we get on a bike and ride all the way to 21st Avenue, stop, get some chips, do this. It was like an excursion, and that was so much fun. But my grandsons, I watch them. They don't do any of that. My grandson tonight is that he's playing basketball, so at least today he's playing sports. But
Right.
Hmm.
most of the time he's playing video games. He loves it. That's all he likes to do.
What about you,
And all
David?
of them.
Like your childhood, did you guys get out much?
I got the mix of both. I did grow up in neighborhood that was safe to walk around during the day. It was a little ghetto, but it was safe to walk around with parent supervision and stuff. And I would ride my bike with my cousins, and we would go run around, play games like tag and stuff. We would be active as kids, but I think it was when we were like teenagers or preteens, like 13, 14 is really when we got into the video games. And I mean, I was all in. I loved video games. I played I got overweight because all I did was play video games and come
Yeah.
home after school, and that's all I cared about was my video game life. And
Yeah.
so like I said, I got both. I don't know, it's kind of hard, and it took me a long time to get out of that video game mindset. College was really what threw me out of that, just
Really, that
because
brought
I
you
had
out
to
of
live
it to
life.
where you.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
first of all, there was not good internet at school that I went to, so
That
it's
makes a
like I
difference.
couldn't even play if I wanted to. And then once I stopped playing after a year, I was like, "What's the point of me even like I'll play here and there, but I can't really play more than an hour or two. Like I feel like I'm wasting too much time now."
Yeah, it doesn't feel the
All,
same.
all the
Yeah,
kids, they'll play for hours, man.
no,
They love it. They play
my godson
against,
does
and you can
all day.
hear you challenging other kids, and I
Hmm.
guess they get in communities and play. I've never played
Hmm.
video games,
Well,
so I
it
don't
is,
know.
and it is pretty amazing. Like you can be
Hmm.
with your best friend playing online and talking to them, and just like we're
Yeah,
having this podcast essentially,
yeah,
online and through this experience, they're playing with their buddy with their characters online and having their experience. So I in my college, we used to Halo was big, a game called Halo, and
yeah,
we used to have to be on our computer to like log on to a website and connect the Ethernet cord to our Xbox, but we were able to like join up and play online. Now it's just done. You just log in and you're there. But we
yeah,
used to have to do it on a computer. And when I was younger, video games weren't much of an option. If I did want to play them, it was like, no, get outside, go do something. Um, and I was between my mom and dad's house, but even when I was at my dad's in South Central or in Crenshaw, which is, not the nicest neighborhoods at all times, we still were able to just go around our area, our block, like walk down to the liquor store, get a ice cream or, the freedom I had. Now I look back, and as a parent, I wouldn't want to give my kid the freedom that I had, meaning I could have gotten so much trouble. Like I could, like we did so many things that we didn't get caught for, kind of thing.
Oh, same
Uh,
here. I mean, we were characters. So yeah, we were characters. I mean, you get a group of boys together, and mischievous comes out of the woodwork, don't it? I mean, come on,
oh,
let's. I mean,
oh,
thank God we
100%.
didn't really do something stupid. I mean, that
Yeah,
ruined our lives, but
but it was
mischievous
close.
was part of the program back then.
Yeah. Anytime you get a group of guys together, like just something about it. And that's why, I think we've talked about this in previous episodes, but how important it is to have male friendships and that support, because it's going to be completely different than what you would have with your wife, your girlfriend,
Right.
any female friends. It's something about the camaraderie and the manhood, the brotherhood, that it it's necessary for you in life. Like it's good to have that around you. And we have it as young kids, and we kind of lose it as we get older. You know?
Well, the social aspect of it and just going to the parks. We never they gave us freedom though. Our parents gave us freedom to do that. Just as long as you got your butt home before the thing when the street if you didn't get home before the street lights came on,
You're in
all
trouble.
heck would break loose. But you had to get
100%.
home before. Yeah,
100%.
get home, get your butt home.
And
But
I
we
was, my mom was at work, so we even when we got home, there was no parents there. Right. Our big rule was no one. She said no one in the house. If we had someone come over and like just in our living room watch MTV or do something, and my mom popped in, it was like people were scared of my mom. They were not coming back. Be home before the lights turn off or turn on, right, before it gets
But
dark.
now with all the, it seems like society is it. I don't remember as a kid hearing about some of the horrific things I hear about nowadays. I don't remember mass shootings like that. I did see in my senior year a girl I went to school with from the time I was in the second grade. Her and another girl got in a fight over a boy. And back then, we still had real forks and knives in the
Ooh,
cafeteria.
yeah.
And her name was Sharon. And Sharon grabbed a knife and stabbed the girl in the neck, and she ended up doing like 10 years or so in juvenile. Yeah, until she was like, and that was in my junior. No, she did 11 years because they, yeah, she came out when she was like 27 or 28. Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
so that was the most horrific thing I'd ever seen, and I was in the cafeteria. But overall, I don't remember hearing about like the mass shootings at schools and stuff like that. I don't. Maybe it happened, but I don't remember it like that.
Yeah. Now we can hear about it so easily, right?
Well,
Like
everything, yes.
something happens, we're on our phone. Oh, so and so dies here. Parent does this to child. Like everything's everywhere. So I think that probably has a lot to do too with parents being more secure or like keeping their kids home more.
I'd
Keep
be scared to do anything with as many cameras that's out there today. I mean, that's how they catch people nowadays. Everybody got a Ring camera at the door. They got it
100%.
in businesses. They got ADT. They got. I mean, it's and people can track your phone and know where you're at, and oh, it's
You know,
Yeah.
everything.
yeah, it's a different world. I don't know, man. I would some of the things we got away with. I know in this new market we wouldn't have got away with
Not even close. Yep.
it.
They come knocking on my door real quick.
Yeah, I mean, we did some dumb things, but luckily, they didn't have Ring cameras everywhere, and nobody had that back then. I mean, that stuff didn't come until the '90s and stuff, really.
Yeah, you can't like think of. I'm like, we did some ding dong ditching. We did things like not often, but TPing houses. Just
We
stupid
did
stuff.
all that stuff and egging cars and stuff. I
I'm
mean,
like,
stuff that now
I'm like, does
trust my
anyone do that anymore?
grandkids if they did it, but we
It's too
did it. They
expensive.
thought it was cool, you
Yeah, now
know.
you can't TP people. You can't. Well, I got those mega rolls. Maybe I could, but
Yes, you could. You got the mega
Uh,
rolls. You could.
I
You
got
got
those
the
mega
big ones.
rolls.
You could
Look
do a
at
whole tree and the house, probably, right?
yeah.
the whole block.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Well, it's about that
Hey,
time for me.
yeah,
I got,
let's do it again next week, guys.
but I'm happy we got
Awesome.
episode 10 in. We'll keep this up to everyone watching and listening. Thank you. Have a great day and a better tomorrow.